Think big, think positive. Never show any sign of weakness. Always go for the throat. Buy low, sell high. Fear, that's the other guy's problem. Nothing you have ever witnessed will prepare you for the absolute carnage you're about to witness. It's Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Get ready to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to a special Thrive Loud episode. As you can tell by the music playing underneath me right now, it is a special time of year. And I think that's so fitting because we're dealing with some really special circumstances. So to join me again, a little over, 2 months since we last connected, I bring you speaker, trainer, author, thought leader, and the host of Did That Just Happen? The Tony Chatman. Tony is back with me today. How you doing, man?
What's up, Lou? How you doing, man?
So, Did That Just Happen could not have been a more appropriate title for our conversation. Because in the last 24 hours, when we recorded this, so we're recording this on March 12th, and yesterday, March 11th, the following happened. The NCAA made a decision that all of the winter sport tournaments or spring tournaments that are coming will have no fans in attendance. An NBA basketball player on the Utah Jazz was diagnosed with coronavirus, canceling the game right before the tip-off in a live arena, even though he wasn't in the arena, and putting NBA games, at least at this point, on suspension and not happening until they figure out a game plan, with the NHL doing something similar and trying to figure out whether they want fans or not in their arenas. College universities asking kids to stay at home because they don't want them to be up there, and obviously their sporting events for most of the spring season canceled. So here we are. Tony and I were going to do a fun pre-NCAA Basketball Tournament episode, and we have other things to talk about.
Yeah, that was the plan. That's clearly not going to happen.
For the record, we were going to go through the grid. We were going to make a Final Four prediction, and they haven't come out with the grid yet because half of these games are not even sure who's going to get a chance to see them. So I think they're going to play them. Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, the Power 5 conferences, what's that, the ACC, the
Big Ten,
the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the SEC just said that they're canceling their tournaments.
Yeah, and that followed suit. Remember, the Ivy League did that too. They just recently had one, and they just picked whoever was the winner at the end of the regular season to go to be their tournament bid. Same type of thing.
Right.
So unlike, by the way, the Big East, a little behind the game, they were playing in front of a live audience at Madison Square Garden last night. That's March 11th. And the announcement came out while those games were going on and fans were in attendance that the NCAA was not going to have fans in the tournament game. So this is a crazy, crazy, crazy environment going on right now. And Tony and I figured we'd chat about it. And I'm sure he's going to chat about it with his partner in crime on his Did That Just Happen? So I want to make this the Thrive Loud version of Did That Just Happen?
Oh my gosh.
So Tony, if you could, let's tackle one of these things at a time. Let's talk about this from a sports fan's point of view. Like, it seems so minor when you think of these very serious health implications with COVID-19 and trying to get control of it. And it seems minor, but it has a huge impact on everything, economics, money, lives, schedules. How is it affecting you?
In terms of the sports part, or in terms of just the COVID part?
Let's go. Let's do COVID and then the sports. We'll talk about the world of COVID and then we'll talk about the sports piece, because we know it's affecting everyone right now, and we're in the heat of it, literally, and we're both in New York. So
right. The COVID part's fascinating. So, as a professional speaker, and I know you can relate to this, it's funny. All of my clients were like, "Oh, we're all good." I communicated with them Tuesday. We're fine. At 4:18 yesterday, the avalanche started of, we got to rethink this thing. We're going to postpone. I have a teleconference with another client tomorrow, actually. It was supposed to be in person. And, it's the right thing to do. We have to be safe. We have to play it safe, be smart. I know even my wife's travel schedule has been completely eliminated. She is not to see clients in the next 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So that's huge from a business standpoint. I'd say beyond that, in my neighborhood, you don't really notice it. No one's walking around with masks. It's not, mass hysteria. I don't know if you saw, I posted a picture on Facebook today and on Instagram. So I go to Chipotle and I get done. I'm walking out and there's this girl refilling her hand sanitizer bottle with the hand sanitizer dispenser at Chipotle, which squirts out, like 5 milliliters per squirt. So she's going to be there all day. But, it's what it is. You know what? This is adapting to life. So that's really how it's affecting me right now. How about you?
So I think I've got two thoughts about it. And like you, I've had some things get canceled and moved to virtual, which actually was really fitting. This is shameless plug. Go back and listen to my conversation with our good friend, Tony and I, Jill Schiffelbein, who did dynamic virtual events. We talk about it in an episode, which was great, on how to make your virtual event, really great, because there is a difference between doing it in person and virtually, and everyone's moving in this direction. So a lot of strategies around that. So a lot of things moving in that regard. I'm standing in front of you, in front of the Zoom camera. I do a standing desk. I feel like I've been here for 5 hours straight, and I have chat after chat after chat, checking in with clients. So it is affecting business, and I'm in complete agreement with you. This is the right move. I'm also in the mindset of this too shall pass in time.
Yes.
And it will dissipate. And they're doing the right things to whether quarantine or restrict access. And while it's shocking because it changes things and drives markets in all different crazy directions and scares everybody, this is what you're supposed to do when you have this. And you don't want to, because someone made a comment to me, and I heard this on another sports channel, Tony. There were young people upset that the spring sports season was canceled in all these different collegiate sports because they're never getting a chance to play the games, or they're not going to have them. The lacrosse season or baseball season, whatever it might be, or has been postponed or delayed. And people are like, yeah, but most of the people in the colleges are not at risk in contracting COVID. I go, well, one, who's to know that? And two, I want to grow old one day, Tony. If I'm one of those old guys, who's 70 years old, I want to make sure I'm okay. College professor or a parent or any of these people involved. It's important. And it's important to realize perspective at this moment.
Sure.
That's where I'm at. I'm okay with it. It's driving me a little mad because you can't get away from it because it's on every television web screen update you get. But I'm a little annoyed, though, because it's going to be weird turning on the TV when the games start, the games are going to start. You're going to hear this tomorrow, first day, which is always my favorite day of the year. Shout out to a whole group of guys who I go usually have drinks with, and we watch the NCAA tournament. And there's going to be no fans in the games. It's going to be very strange to watch, right?
Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of sneakers squeaking across. It's going to be, yeah. And, man, it's going to be crazy. So we were talking about this last night, my wife and I said, this is going to change the dynamic in such a way that I think coaching is going to play such a bigger role, because you can actually hear your coach now while you're playing versus over the sound of the crowd. That's going to be a big, big deal. And the other thing is, they always talk about, are they ready for the moment? Well, the moment's changed. You don't have the big crowd. You don't have the massive. This is like playing pickup ball now. And I think some of that underdog part of it is also going to fall away. So this is going to bring a lot more parity, I believe, to the tournament. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, that's a great point. I like the aspect, like, look, there are the big schools like the Kansas, the Dukes, the big programs that always travel well and they send lots of fans. And it actually, in many cases, works well for those underdogs, because some of the when there's an upstart and an upset happening, all the other fans because there's multiple crowds of fans at a particular game in those early rounds go crazy because they love rooting for the upset. They're not there anymore. So it is going to be interesting to see how that plays as we watch and I guess listen. I love your example of the sneaker. You're going to hear a lot of sneaker in basketball. You don't realize how much is happening on that court, specifically right when it starts. And it's like a fresh
yeah. Oh, there's going to be a lot of muting too, because now I can hear every cuss word that the coach says.
Right. It's so true.
Monitoring, like, oh no, Roy Williams said, beep, beep, you're sticking, beep, beep. I mean, it's just going to be horrible.
There's that, right. There's that 7-second delay and you're not going to know what you're hearing. I have some friends in the media. Some of them have been on this program who are, broadcasters who go around and they do these games. And I had a quick call with someone who does not basketball, but they do football. And I asked them what it would be like. Would you be concerned about, physically going to the games? And like, no, we want to go to the game. We know all the rules. I think we're learning a lot now about what's the term about, like, the right distancing between people.
Right.
All of this stuff, which is good behavior to do during flu season anyway. I did like one comment that someone shouted out at me, and that was that during this time of year, this is a very heavy allergy season.
Yes. So
lots of people who are getting their natural allergies are going to sneeze, and you're going to have people like look at them like, to get me out of here.
Oh, yeah. So I was on a flight home from Detroit. I was at a funeral, and this person started coughing on the plane. And if you could have seen the look on the flight attendant's face, I thought she was going to open up the emergency door and throw them out at 30,000 feet. It was nuts. At the same time, yesterday, my wife got sick, and it was sinusitis. It's from her allergies, but just being aware that is also the season. You bring up a great point, and not to overreact. I'm with you. Look, staying calm, washing your hands, not overreacting.
I'd even put on the stress here, try not to watch too much television and stay away from a lot of it, because there's so much of it all day long. I watched, in the New York area, there's Fox does the news like at 10 o'clock, and then there's a news at 11. And somehow my wife and I ended up watching the 10 o'clock news, and now she likes falling asleep with the TV on at 11. And I'm like, I can't watch this again. I go, please turn this off. I can't learn that the big priority is that the St. Patrick's Day parade has been postponed. I'm like,
hey, right.
My 2 cents on that, by the way, is if they decide they want to move it, I could see this combined effort of, hey, let's have the St. Patrick's Day and the July 4th parade on display, and let's get as many drunk Irish people lighting fireworks. I think that would be a wonderful thing for the safety of New York.
I think we should do St. Patrick's Day and Cinco de Mayo together.
Oh, that would be awesome. That's a great idea.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's
tacos and corned beef.
First of all, it definitely improves the food quality, because nothing against St. Patrick's Day, but aside from soda bread, I'm really not that excited about a lot of it.
Yeah. Oh, man.
You get green beer and green tequila. I like the combinations.
Yeah. The only problem is that phrase Corona. We'll figure that out. We'll just call it, what is it?
Cervezas. There you go.
We'll just call it cerveza. We'll move on.
Oh, it's awesome. So so at this point, we know very little as it relates to the sports world here, because you and I are recording this before the tournament begins. I'm actually hoping for other sports events to actually make headlines, because it would be nice to keep us distracted a little bit. Hey, the NFL is entering free agency soon. I have never been more excited to potentially hear that Tom Brady might be on another team so we can shift our eye and talk about something else. What's your thoughts on sports as a great distraction from a lot of stuff? I remembered this goes back to 9/11 in 2001 after a real changing moment in perspective in our lives with the destruction of the towers and the planes crashing into D.C. and in Pennsylvania and all that. I went to the first baseball game right before my birthday. This was on September 21st. That was when the Mets played the Braves, and everyone was trying to get back to normalcy. It was fun to go to the sporting event, but it was interesting in that whole window of shift of time how, going to a sporting event was a way to kind of get back to that normalcy. Now we can't go to the sporting event.
No. And you can't go outside. I think Netflix and Hulu are celebrating because they're going to skyrocket. Their viewership is going to jump. It's okay. I don't want to sound like a fatalist, but I would not be shocked if March Madness is getting canceled.
So there's a chance I could see it, and I could see it for a different type of reason. The reason being that getting the teams to and from the locations they need to, even so, just a regular basketball team in college has 15 to 16 actual players on the roster. There's some other students who might not be dressed. You have the coaching staff and other people that travel with the team. Call it 25 to 30 people. You're 100% right. What happens if one of those teams or somebody on, team A and team B, and let's say somebody at one of those common sites where they're playing, somebody has the coronavirus.
Right.
Just like the NBA game that had to be suspended to try to figure out what to do. You're talking about college students who have a likelihood of getting it or hopefully not. And then you're in that exact zone that the NBA was in last night when they canceled that game in Utah and then made that decision. So I think, between now and next week, or at the time tomorrow, if you're listening to this right now, we're playing with time.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm with you. There's a chance.
Yeah.
I kind of hope that they do play it.
Me too.
Just for something to watch, and I think it's always one of my favorite events of the year. It's not the most favorite, but it's definitely up there. It's the only place in the world that you end up rooting for some school you've never heard of.
Yeah, right.
Players that you will never remember. That's the other thing. Like that one person who's a star in one weekend of the year, like 2 weeks after the NCAA tournament or after the Final Four is completed, you can't even remember who the people were and who they were. It's incredible. It's like the Olympics that way. Yeah,
absolutely. And or it could be that a player that is going to make their mark. So I took my dad, shout out to my good friend Andy, who may end up listening to this. When we were in college, we took our dads to the NCAA tournament. The year that Danny Manning dominated.
88. I remember that year.
We just watched magic occur, and you can't replicate that, right? That's just one of those things. So here's what I think is going to happen. If they play the games, the viewership is going to be massive.
I agree with that.
Bigger than it would normally be because there's such a void and there's so much tension and people need that escape. And then I think the day that people are allowed to come back to sporting events will be like a national holiday. That's how it's going to feel.
I agree with you.
Absolutely nuts.
I agree. And I have a feeling that might be baseball in a weird way because, there's something to be said about the outdoor venue versus the indoor. I know this just because that's some of the natural concerns, and we're talking a little bit warmer weather too, which will be helpful. So I could see that being it. And look, the logistics of the travel and the current suspension of the NBA games and potentially the NHL games make it clear picking up and starting over is not an easy thing to do when they have to try and figure out what to do. I think what would be great it could make for the most interesting summer ever, is if somehow they postpone and push everything, and then instead of all of these sports like hockey and basketball ending in May and June, they might be ending in June, July, August or something like that. And that could be incredible.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the NBA opened the door for that.
Right.
The NCAA was hamstrung. They couldn't push back because they didn't want to run into the NBA playoffs. So now with the NBA being on suspension, they have the ability to say, hey, let's let this thing play out for a couple of months. The only weird dynamic is going to be students who are graduating, right? That's where it's all thrown off.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. They make enough money that they can figure it out. You think of it, the amount of money that's on the line, they can figure out a way to make this work for everybody.
Yeah, it's a spectacular point. You just mentioned, by the way, the graduates. I'm going to give a shout out to all of the listeners who are seniors in college. By the way, I have many of them who are on my intern team who I'll produce this show, who I feel tremendously for, because obviously this is such a fun time of year, like the last months of your college years, or if you're an athlete, a chance to play in those games, and those things aren't happening. I have a feeling somehow what might have been called senior week might have turned into senior semester, and they're going to figure out a way to have parties where they can.
Yeah, I think so.
Just wash your hands is all we ask of you. So be safe, everybody.
Yeah, shout out to them. Shout out to my son who's finishing up his culinary program at Johnson & Wales. Same situation. Oh gosh, I just had this thought. So for those seniors, definitely shout out to you. Hopefully this does not affect your commencement.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that. You and I both, you had and I will have kids who graduated the same university. And that is a very late in May university graduation. I think this is where they're going to get month to month, and they're going to figure out where we're at. We may very well be at the end of April, and maybe we have a good grasp of where things are and things have died down. And that could lead to, like you said, going out to these outdoor or indoor celebrations, which every one of these hardworking students deserves, and have a chance to celebrate. And you're right, in a way to give any type of boost to the lovely travel industry, which has gotten decimated. Trust me, they're hoping that they have the ability to, whether hotels or travel, to get to these places. I hope we will see a path back there sooner than later.
Yeah.
Tony, I didn't think we would be talking about this. I was actually going to look forward to trying to research which teams I would root for, which ones to go for. But look, it certainly made for more interesting listening. I'm sure our listeners are more interested in this.
Yeah, we didn't even touch the NBA. I mean, this.
Let's go to it. Let's do it. Let's go a couple of weeks ago. LeBron James was quoted when he was asked if you would play in front of an empty stadium, and he said, "There's no way I'm going to play if there's no fans in the stadium."
I think that was even a week ago. Yeah,
you're right.
Yeah.
What was your thoughts on that? Even forgetting about where we are now, what's your thoughts on that?
I understood what he was saying, because in the context of his statement, he was saying, "I play for the fans."
Yeah.
It makes no sense to play if there's no fans there. At the same time, around the world, sporting events are now being played without fans. And I think that had to be taken into perspective. I'm sure he's aware of that, and I'm sure he's very cognizant of his words and their meaning and their impact. But, I get it. He's like, look, let's not do this and hurt the fans. But at the same time, okay, so a lot of people are saying, well, there's so few cases and everything else. I think people are about to understand the context of the meaning of the phrase something going viral. It's like, this is actually where it came from.
This is where it came from.
So you're about to see what going viral really looks like with exponential growth. So, things that people said last week are no longer relevant, unfortunately.
It's true. I'm actually looking it up right now just because I was curious. And again, timestamp in this is on March. A lot of the apps nowadays, and the one I'm looking at, which is Score, which is where I get all my scores from, they always do the playoff picture, like where we are right now. And what I could see, and I'm just looking at the regular conference. So what do they play? 82 games in the season, and they're at about 65 right now, just about right now. Okay. While I would imagine there might be some frustration or uniqueness, I could see a situation where when they make a decision to turn the lights back on and they say, okay, we feel okay to be able to house games again, or now play in front of fans, whichever it is, just say season ended on that day. Where you are 1-8 in both conferences, begin the playoffs. And I could see that happening on some kind of time schedule, because the regular season was going to end around April 15th, around there, like mid-April as usual, right? So we're only a month away from that. I mean, I think when the NBA had the strike shortened season, however long ago, I remember they had a 50-game season when they did all that fast one. Look, they figure out how to do it. They'll figure it out. Yeah, I'm not as concerned. But I think it's important. I think, look, sports is important to bring back to people. It's a good distraction. It's a revenue source for a lot of these cities, and a lot of people are employed by them. So I think it's a good thing to go to. I think it'll take some time to get everybody to go to the games, but unless, of course, you're in New York, nobody was going to the Knicks games anyway. So I don't think there was a problem there.
So I was going to the Nets game next week.
Oh man.
So no, one of my best friends has the Nets as one of his clients. He was in town to do some work for the Giants. He said, hey, I'll take you to the Nets game. And it's the day before my birthday. I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And then we were like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
It is what it is. And, hey, this will be good because now we don't have to talk about Spike Lee not going to the Knicks games. That'd be great.
Dolan, I mean, have you ever been to a place where the fans actually chant Dolan sell the team? I mean,
it could not get worse. It's just purely hopeless. But I think the only people more hopeless in the NBA are Sacramento Kings fans. I mean, I think that's about as close as you're going to get. So
it's an interesting one. I am interested because between now and the time that we launch this, I am curious to see what hockey does. If they break, because they're playing a lot of the same arenas. I know most people in the area that we live in, they're trying to say don't congregate in areas. And here's just a quick side story. Last night, Tony, I had to go to traffic court to fight a ticket. And the judge did not show up. So sometimes what they do is you have a negotiation maybe with the police officer, and maybe then you'll come to an agreement and then they could approve your stuff and be done. Well, so pretty much 100 some odd people lined up to go to traffic court. They made a statement. They did not want you hanging out too long. They wanted people in and out of there because they didn't want people aggregating. This is the fear factor. So I actually have a legitimate beef on this ticket. I believe I do not deserve to pay a dime or get a point or whatever. And the guy actually says to me, 0 points, pay a fine, or trial. And I'm sitting there with all my documentation and the reason why I should fight it. I'm about to have the conversation. And I look at him and I go, well, the 0 points, what kind of fine am I talking about? And he gives me a 3-digit number. I'm like, no, screw that. I'm not writing you a check. Trial. He goes, all right, please leave. Get out as quick as possible. I was in and out of there in literally less than 45 seconds.
Wow.
Out of the room, and they asked you to leave the building. So, and everybody was like, hands off, don't touch, no handshake, comfortable difference, and get out. I was in the parking lot outside, and I stopped, and I said, unbelievable. I go, is this what we're dealing with? And it's real. It's real, and it's happening.
Yep, it just happened. That's for sure.
Thank you for bringing us home, man. That just happened.
That just happened.
Well, we will continue to plug that show for the listeners out here. You got to go listen to Tony's show. Him and his boy. Give the plug. Tell everybody where they could find Did That Just Happen.
You can find us everywhere. It's called Did That Just Happen with Tony and Steve. iTunes. Anywhere that Thrive Loud is, we're there too. And in fact, we try to follow each other and ping off each other. So, wherever you look for a podcast, whether it's the iTunes app, whether it's Pandora, Spotify. Actually, I don't think it's Pandora, but Spotify, all of your other Android apps, whatever, there we are with our bright and smiley faces on there.
I will say this. I listened to Tony. He knows his stuff. Him and Steve, they've got They have interesting opinions on stuff that I think you should definitely take a listen to. And there is guaranteed laughter within every show. It will happen. Somebody will be literally can't breathe, no oxygen laughing because of something they've said. I'll also go this. We'll give the shout out. Listen to it on Good Pods, which we'll give the plug for here.
There you go.
Check it out and make a comment. And you can even connect with Tony on there or myself on any of those and start chatting with them, which is a great way to do that. And from that, dude, thanks for taking out the time today to chat about this stuff. We'll end with the music in the background here as we kind of get pumped. I'm hoping we get a chance to hear this tune as the games hopefully start tomorrow and we get to rock and roll and get to that one shining moment.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I guess I will see you next tragedy.
You got it, brother. Talk to you soon.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.